Oftentimes animals that come to us having experienced abuse and neglect, that's the really hard part of this job. But you know, what makes this job and the whole foster volunteer experience really worth it and really special is to be part of their rescue story, to know that them coming and spending some time with you in your home really did help save that animal who had nowhere else to go and nowhere else to turn. Knowing that you're part of the reason that they're going to a loving home, it just makes it so worth it.
So I received a call for a dog that was inside of a kennel on a patio that had its mouth tied shut. I arrived on scene and I was met by a handful of citizens who were all very upset about what was going on. They were all aware of it. I went to the unit and I was able to see right over the fence that there was a puppy inside of a wire crate, had his muzzle tied up, and I wasn't sure if he was even breathing. I was banging on the fence and he eventually did look up to me, so I knew he was at least alive. So I made contact with the property management trying to get a hold of an owner. The person I met with was the one who intentionally tied his mouth shut, causing the injury, placing him in the kennel. The kennel was full of feces and urine in direct sunlight. There was no cover for him, no ability for him to stay cool or warm up if it were to get too cold. And I could see on his muzzle that he was bleeding and he was already starting to swell up from the tether around his face.
So Bowie came to us as a transfer from our partners at Washoe County Regional Animal Services. The medical care to take care of him was pretty intensive. Our team partnered with them to make sure that we could get him everything that he needed. We were really worried because of the severity of the damage. You can see in his pictures, I mean, he's gonna have those scars for the rest of his life. You know, we were just very worried at first, but thankfully, little Bowie is a fighter. And thanks to our medical team and the medications and the treatment that he got, he actually healed really, really well. We're so thankful for that outcome.
My role here is managing the intake and the outcome of all animals that come through Nevada Humane Society, whether that means adoption, how they get to us, and finding them forever homes. When Bowie came to us, he did not trust us. He was nervous, he was in pain. Nicole and I went in there and sat with him and just built his trust and let him come to us at his time. And ultimately, Nicole fell in love and wanted to give him that foster home.
I'm Nicole Theodulu, the Marketing and Communications Director at Nevada Humane Society. And on top of that, at home, I'm a regular ongoing foster volunteer.
It was a phone call that just said, we're getting another foster pet. And my response was, how long? And then she texted me a picture because she knew a follow-up picture would instantly make me melt for him. And he looked terrible, and it did. He was, you know, I felt really bad for the little guy and just the situation he was in. It's very heartbreaking to see that you know, somebody could do such a thing to such a small, helpless animal. It's a very heartwarming thing. Even as much as the situation was a bad situation, the amount of good that we do, just, you know, it feels so good to do that for them.
When we first got here and I brought him inside to meet our pets, you know, he was just so nervous and so scared. You could tell he'd never been part of a happy, healthy home before, and he just didn't know how to act. And then when we came inside, he just curled up in a corner in our bedroom, and I sat down on the floor next to him, and he just sat there and shook and was really scared for a little bit. It took him probably a good 10 minutes or so to want to get up. And our other pets, little Riley here and our other dog Bruce, just laid on the bed and stared at him. They could tell something was wrong, and they both just wanted to comfort him. In our situation, it was actually my former cheerleading and gymnastics coach from middle school and high school, who were still very close with her and her family. They saw his story on our social media page because we'd been talking about his experience in fostering him, and they just fell in love with him.
We begged Celeste. Me and Monroe begged Celeste, can we please get a puppy? We want a puppy. And I think it was about 2 or 3 years. She kept saying, no way, it's not happening, we're not doing it. Well, one day, Celeste saw a post on Facebook with Bowie, and she told me, look at this dog. this little puppy here, look at him, he was abused. They took him out of an abusive situation. He's got this big scar on his face. We're getting this dog. And that was it.
I don't know. I just knew that he was the right one for us, and I knew that we could give him a good home. We did go over, we met him, and as soon as I walked in, I knew to try to not overwhelm him, and I just kind of got down on the ground and let him approach me. He didn't hesitate for 1 second, ran right up to me and licked me on the face and almost knocked me over. And yeah, he bowled me over right there. I wanted him. I knew he was coming home with us eventually.
Sneak kisses! Sneak attack!
You Casanova, you Casanova, my Casanova. So I carried him in like a baby in a blanket. I did. And Rich came over and went to the older dog and said, I want you to meet your baby. And she wouldn't stop kissing him. And yeah, and oftentimes I would reach down to pet Bowie and find that he would be soaking wet, and it took me a while to figure out it was because Bebe was nonstop grooming him and caring for him.